Mehmood Saab, Assalamu alaikum. I want to first thank you. Thank you so much for being part of the Kashmir Care Foundation advisory group and today for being with us on the Spotlight session. Mehmood Saab, जैसे आपको मालूम है, in the Spotlight session, we celebrate the success of Kashmiris around the world. And we had to have you because you are a storyteller. You on daily basis communicate with the city, with the state, and people outside the state through Greater Kashmir. So you are an inspiration. On my behalf, on behalf of Kashmir Care Foundation and thousands of listeners and viewers who will watch this recording, again, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Dr. Sir. My pleasure always to be a part of KCF and to be around whatever work you are doing. And whatever work, little work we are doing here, it gives us immense pleasure. And it makes us more, it makes us stronger. It makes us feel a sort of a fulfillment and joy when we network with people like you and you are around. You act as an inspiration for us and all those globally settled Kashmiris who have done very well, who are accomplished in their fields. Getting connected to them makes us feel very, in a way, prideful of them, and also bringing in that impact into our own spaces. Thank you very much. Thank you. My pleasure always.
Thank you, Mehmood Saab. Mehmood Saab के साथ हमारी पहचान पुरानी है, couple of years पुरानी relatively, और इनसे हम काफ़ी सीखते हैं. He honestly is a person who tells you what to do and what not to do, and whether it's time to do what you want to do. So Mehmood Saab, आपका शुक्रिया to add value to Kashmir Care Foundation.
Thank you.
So what I'm going to do is introduce your newspaper. It needs no introduction, but हमारे कुछ कश्मीरी बच्चे families के outside Kashmir, outside India जो हैं, they should know about Greater Kashmir. हमारे घर में जो है Greater Kashmir historically आता था. मुझे याद है 87 से आता था. मेरे father was paras was underline Quran, which was his way of telling us what to read, what to focus on. It's a daily English newspaper printed and published from Srinagar. It got its start in 87 as a weekly newspaper, but 89 se daily circulation is ki aayi. It has the largest base of circulation in the state and widely read English newspaper. इनका एक उर्दू में भी पेपर है, उसका नाम है कश्मीर उज़्मा, and they also publish, Greater Kashmir also publishes Kashmir Inc., which is a magazine. It focuses and features artists, poets, and storytelling. Mehmood Saab का introduction मैं देना चाहता हूँ. He's an academic by birth, by nature, and we'll talk about more. He's been associated for more than 2 decades in the space of journalism. He's opinion editor for Greater Kashmir and has been columnist for Greater Kashmir and occasionally contributes to national publications. ये personality ऐसी हैं, mashallah, who is also a mentor. What people know of Mehmood Saab is through Greater Kashmir lens, but इनका बहुत impact है in education. He himself has served as a guest faculty at Kashmir University. He is a founder director of Thinksite Private Limited, जिसके साथ Kashmir Care Foundation collaborate करना चाहती है, कर रही है. We have an agreement with that. He is also board of trustees on Muslim Educational Trust. So with that introduction, again, a very warm welcome to you, Mehmood Saab.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. If I can respond to this introduction, one, Dr. Saab is quite generous when it comes to people around him. Thank you for that. But a couple of things that I need to, respond to in the beginning is, one is about Greater Kashmir, second is about Muslim Educational Trust, and third is about Thinksite. I leave myself out because, one thing, by the way, that I just want to share with you is something that scares me the most is spotlight. I am by temperament a kind of a person that is withdrawn. I can have very warm and very, vibrant discussions in a room with you, maybe with friends also. But I have always been running away from this camera light, but I don't know how you got hold of me and this love for KCF and for the effort that you are making. It didn't leave me any chance of, skipping this spotlight this time. So, anyways, Greater Kashmir is a Kashmir grown story, which our children must know. This newspaper was started when I was in school. I had no idea of when it was started, but I know for sure that it was started in 1987 by a Kashmiri in Kashmir looking at the Kashmir. So the Kashmir is at the center of this newspaper. But afterwards, the kind of events that happened here and the turn of events that brought it into limelight. One of the best things about this newspaper is that people from the valley started writing for it. Its reporters, its columnists, its correspondents, all of it, they come from the valley, and that way it established English journalism here. But then it moved out. I can still, because I am the opinion editor of this newspaper for many years now, I can tell you that we don't accommodate just the opinion that comes from the valley. We welcome the opinion that comes from mainland India, from those who live outside. We have, academics, we have journalists, we have different field experts who contribute to this newspaper. So that way, it is very rich in its content and in its news and its arrangement of the news. We try to sort of give space to all the things. We don't want to make it look like so that one kind of people will be interested in it and others won't be. So it is a full comprehensive newspaper that goes to the deeper spaces of this valley, and it connects people here, and it connects outsiders to Kashmir. That's Greater Kashmir. About MET, Muslim Educational Trust, is one of the oldest educational trusts that were established in Kashmir. It goes way back 1968. I wasn't born then. And by that great man called Professor Pacha, who was an inspiration for the people. And people usually called him as Sir Sayyid of Kashmir. He established these schools. And for last, I think, 3 4 years, that is also a story for some other time, that we are trying to revive this trust and revive the schools and institutions. It has a college also under its belt. So we're trying to run it. Thinksite is the latest entry. It came, I think, about in 2020, when we had some special conditions that were imposed here, and some of us sat together and we thought that the only thing that can save these people, the only thing that we need to meet the future challenges confidently, is education. And then we started to go in different schools, talking to different academics, and it was in line of that action that we got to know of KCF and had that MOU also with you. And I think Thinksite is now the platform, KCF is now the platform that can do the right kind of interventions in the schools and take our children into outer spaces where they can perform. So that is about the three things that I'm associated with.
यम कशीर मंज बोजन ये कॉन्वर्सेशन यम वुचन ये कॉन्वर्सेशन पहले तो मैं आपको बताता हूँ यस महमूद साहब डज अवॉइड स्पॉटलाइट एंड बट आई एम ऑल्सो अ पर्सन कि मोहब्बत से बुलाते हैं तो लोग आ ही जाते हैं तो महमूद साहब अगेन बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया माय कॉन्वर्सेशन हैज़ टू critical points. These are uniques. One is I have an incredible person with me today who people are going to watch and listen. दूसरी चीज है I got to ask the questions for first 30-40 minutes. So I'm the journalist, Mehmood Saab, and you are the audience. You respond.
Right.
So ये बड़ी important चीज है और ये एक responsible चीज है to be a journalist. And I've been preparing for this session, Mehmood Saab, for a long time now. बाकी सेशन में उतनी प्रिपरेशन नहीं होती जितनी आपके सेशन में हो रही है because a journalist has to be credible.
It gives me it makes me also understand that what should be the plight of the people who we direct all our questions to. So I'm facing it right now. Let's face it.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, again welcome, very warm welcome to Mehmood Saab. Mehmood Saab, पहले ये बताएं आपने कहा आप हाई स्कूल में थे जब ग्रेटर कश्मीर पैदा हुआ था, कुल्लू साहब ने पैदा किया. What was your driving force? उस टाइम पे it's very likely that जो आपके peers थे स्कूल में, कॉलेजेस में, तुम इस्लामान आ गए से MBBS करने, कहाँ गए थे MBA करने, कहाँ गए थे इंजीनियरिंग करने. But something must have happened during your education and your role models, you chose journalism. Walk us through that space, please.
Honestly, when I was in school, I had no idea of what Greater Kashmir is or what any other newspaper is. But my interest was in reading books, and that why I developed that interest is all because of my father, who had a very small library in his house, and who would always encourage me to read books. I remember whenever I would ask a question to my father, even if he would know the answer, he would point towards the library and tell me that there is the book, go and get it and read it, and you will find the answer. So with that, I developed an interest in reading. Also, my father would subscribe to different magazines within Kashmir and outside also, and they would regularly come to my house, and they would also interest me. I remember I had my own diary sort of thing, and I would write those quotes from those magazines. I still have memorized many of them even up until now. I can produce them whenever I need it. So that may be the start of my interest in journalism. But more importantly, when 1990 happened, and those were the chaotic times. I don't know how people relate themselves to those conditions, but one of my memories goes back to this, that I would take those cuttings from the newspapers and the photographs that would appear and make my own file of what is happening. I don't know where that is right now, but I would make a journal of it. So that also added to it. And I think some of my relatives also, my cousins, they had some kind of a contact with some magazines, and that brought me nearer. Uh, and in when I was in graduation, otherwise I was my interest was primarily, and I still miss it, in theoretical physics. I was a very good student of physics in 10th grade, and I would read those high-end books about the galaxies and about the celestial system. The pictures would actually, sort of interest me, and the detail of it. And I would find poetry, physics, and the kind of mystique that it had, that it carried, that would always attract me to itself. But when things changed here, this also became a theoretical question for me. Why is it happening? What is happening? What it will lead us to? So that brought me closer to the journalism, and then I started following it. I went to Radio Kashmir. I had some kind of engagement also with Doordarshan when I was still in college. I was booked there as a casual artist, in terms of we would do some youth programs. So gradually I developed this interest in journalism. But when I was in university, I joined a newspaper, I remember, by the name of Kashmir Images. That was my first formal entry into a newspaper, and then it started, and then the rest is, as they say, is history.
Thank you so much. महमूद साहब, जो आपने कहा ना कि किताब पढ़ना is so fundamental to our growth. And everyone we speak to who has reached that level of giving back to the community, जैसे आप आज कर रहे हो, या आप करते हैं, शुरुआत किताब से ही होती है. और ये
Exactly.
ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आप अपनी सब्जेक्ट की किताब पढ़ें, मगर पढ़ें. I remember the first session we had of KCF, Asu Malik, such a Kashirmos Pormut. She's in Poland as a space scientist now.
Right.
मिंटो सर्कल से पढ़ी हैं. सोज दपान, मैं जब कुछ सीखना होता था, हमारा प्रिंसिपल कहता था कि आप किताब पढ़ो. एग्जैक्टली द वे योर डैड टोल्ड यू. और वो कहती थी कि मुझे 3 किताबें पढ़नी पड़ती थी to get to the book that actually gave me the answer.
Exactly.
But as a result, she read 4 books.
That's true.
She's
That's what
she's
happens.
4 times prepared than I would be if I was only reading that one book.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
जो बच्चे बड़े बुजुर्ग ये सुन रहे हैं कॉन्वर्सेशन, सुनेंगे कॉन्वर्सेशन, प्लीज प्लेस वैल्यू इन एजुकेशन. अगर आप फिजिक्स पढ़ रहे हैं, थोड़ी ज्योग्राफी भी पढ़ लें, थोड़ी हिस्ट्री भी पढ़
Yeah.
लें. आप प्रिपेयर्ड हो जाओगे इस वर्ल्ड को फेस करने के लिए. महमूद साहब, गोइंग,
Yeah.
प्लीज गो अहेड.
Yeah, I actually wanted to say that you cannot compartmentalize knowledge. One discipline of knowledge contributes to the strength of another discipline, and unless you know something of everything, at least you can't be a journalist.
सो जो बच्चे 8वीं जमात से या उनके पेरेंट्स, उनके भाई ये सुनेंगे, सो पे अटेंशन टू दिस creating of a complete and a total intellectual. You have to be at the top end of your game, and that only comes with studying, reading. Mehmood Saab, I'm going to come to your job now, your daytime job. You're the editor of opinion page. It's a huge responsibility, right? Because
Yeah,
through
it
that
is.
page, you present unfiltered views of subject matter experts or common men and women. How do you go about selecting what is publishable, what should be deferred, what may not be publishable? And I just want to tell the audience that हमारे जो होते हैं सेशंस हर महीने, उनकी रिपोर्ट भी ग्रेटर कश्मीर थ्रू द काइंडनेस ऑफ एंड सपोर्ट ऑफ महमूद साहब पब्लिश होती है. बट वॉक अस थ्रू दिस प्रोसेस दैट यू हैव इन प्लेस.
Right. Part of it is quite easy because it becomes a routine matter. You have some columnists who write regular columns and the space is filled by that. You have an editorial. Editorial always follows the policy of following the news, whatever is important in the news, whatever is happening around, you make a comment on that, which is very in-house editorial comment. Then you have to make a selection, which is really very difficult because whatever you receive in your inbox, I can just give you an idea of it. Not even 10% of it can be accommodated in the newspaper because there is so much it is a torrent of contributions that I receive, and making a selection really becomes very hard. It becomes very taxing, and it is a challenge also to you that what to pick up and what to drop. One, that you don't get to read every stuff that you receive. That's one thing. Second is then you sort of develop a, when you drive, you develop a hand for it. So intuitively you can understand certain things, that this must be the piece that is better. When you go through it, you are mostly you are vindicated. That is what helps you. And then the process of selection is that what is it that is currently important for my readers, what is happening around us. For example, right now, this Iran Israel clash, if you receive an opinion piece on this, you will have to accommodate it. Right now we have a sort of climate change happening here because the temperatures are going up very disturbingly. So people will write about climate change. Right now, we had this issue of that the schools must go for the vacations. So if you receive a piece on this, it has an immediate acceptance. Readers would expect a piece on this, so you pick it up. But sometimes, in our case, because it is there is a kind of underlying conflict going on here, and there the choices are really difficult. There it gives you lots of stress. There it challenges your wisdom. There, no matter how much of an experience you have, you always find yourself wanting in terms of that eye for selecting things. You can also go wrong there. But overall, the process of the selection is what my readers require, what is going on, what is more important for them. And then another factor that determines our selection is who is writing, because some people are really who matter in their discipline. Now, if somebody writes on, let's say, science, and has a very formidable background in this, one would like to have his piece on our pages. Somebody who writes about politics and has a grounding in politics, one would like to have his piece on this. And somebody who is quote unquote, let's say, controversial, and you think that readers will generate an interest and it will generate response also, therein you also try to pick up that piece and use that piece. So all these things and many more, they go into this process of selection. But that is where actually your editorial skill is tested.
महमूद साहब, मैं ये
And
कहना
one more
चाहता हूँ,
thing, if I can
प्लीज.
add by way of lighter way, all the contributors to Greater Kashmir, mostly the regular contributors, if you talk to them, they will remember me through the pieces not published than by the pieces that we published. So that way it is a very thankless job.
To those whose pieces are not published, they're celebrated. So please don't feel bad. There are many pieces I've written also, they didn't get published, but there are some that do get eventually published. Um, महमूद साहब, आपने कहा in today's time in the world we are in, obviously the Palestine situation, the atrocities, the Iran-Israel conflict, these are areas of great concern, and I'm sure contributions through op-ed or regular news that comes in, GK prioritizes, because as they should. So your background, academic background, is also journalism in conflict areas. Does that help you do your job today because you understand the space better?
It does. It actually does. More than journalism, my background in conflict studies, because that is a deeply academic field. And the learnings from that, I do apply in my editorial choices, in my writings also. Because, these conflicts, and some people get excited about it, that it's a topic or it's a discipline wherein you get to know your own conflict. It's not actually that. Because you tend to sort of align yourself towards your own conflict, because you have a position in that, you have your own biases, your own memories and history. But this is not so. Now, one of the cardinal lessons in this discipline is that when you learn conflict studies, just keep your own conflict aside, because otherwise you are not going to learn it. So what we do in this conflict studies is that, one, you need to understand the underlying factors. Two, that you need to apply a rational prism to it so that you can find the solutions to it. And when you connect the two, we have a genre of journalism now which is called as peace journalism, which is actually rooted in conflict studies. And it was given birth by one of the great, who was a mathematician actually, and is a founder of this discipline, Johann Galtung, who died very recently. An old man, he died in his 90s. And he says that the application of language and the choice of news and views, it can either contribute to violence or it can contribute to peace. So if you have to be a peace journalist, make your selections, choose your language in a way that contributes to the settlement of the conflicts and to peace. My own choice of conflict studies, because I did this conflict studies when I was a mid-career professional, that definitely added to my own understanding, and the depth of knowledge that this subject gave me about the conflicts is really something that I would cherish, and I apply it in my day-to-day journalism, in my all writings, and in whatever I do. Maybe some workshops, some mentorship. This thing always helps me. And about this conflict studies, one of the good things is that it is a rational construct. There are no emotions involved in this. And maybe this also interests you. There's a great lady by the name of Hannah Arendt, who was one original great philosopher. She poses a question. She says that, we had many diseases. The time we had no cure for them, people would die, and we accepted that death. But by the time we discovered that it had a treatment, there is a sense of regret also, that what if we had this treatment available
Yeah.
when people were dying in crowds? And then she poses a question: is there a treatment for wars?
Wow.
Can we stop wars from happening? Maybe there are some rational choices, and maybe there are some rational answers to this question. Conflict studies actually applies that prism to all the conflicts, so that, because you can't avoid conflict, but how can we manage it non-violently? How can we resolve it in a manner that the resolution settles? So that way, conflict studies had greatly helped me in my journalism and in conducting my journalism. And
Mahmoud
that was,
Saab,
by the way, my own choice.
thank you so much. This is where your reading helped you define your pathway.
Yeah,
This is
true.
where you engineered something that you created. एंड ये बहुत
Absolutely.
इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ है कि पढ़ाई तो करनी है, पढ़ाई के साथ साथ एक pathway अपना बनाना पड़ता है, वो आप ही बनाएंगे. Mehmood Sahab, I'm going to extend this conversation. When I served in Delhi, I was invited to inauguration of an institute on brain research. Manasar ke paas tha. The guest of honor was the president, President Kalam Saab. When he came, he was such a humble personality. Tem top ke मेरा speech prepare karmas, magar I'm not going to read that speech. Instead, I'm going to talk to you about a conversation I had with a friend of mine when I was coming from Delhi to Manasar. Emsin dostan won temiz, Can you ask these experts and scientists in brain research, why do we lie? इस क्या अपुज बनाना, हम झूठ क्यों बोलते हैं? आज की तारीख में ये बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्वर्सेशन है. व्हेन जर्नलिस्ट्स लाई, when they peddle in misinformation to create an environment of hate. It happens in this country. It happens in many countries. And it has such a negative impact on human development and human relationship. मेरी relationship आपके साथ, आपकी relationship दूसरे बंदे के साथ. In your day-to-day job or in your personal life, how do you cut through the surround sound or noise so that we only talk about what is truthful and what is relevant?
Absolutely, something that interests me a lot. On this Kalam's anxiety, that why do we lie? Uh, right now, as all of us know, that the major concern, the dominant concern, is that this conflict in Middle East should not lead us to the use of nukes. That's the dominant concern. But everybody who has any idea of what an atom bomb means, it gives him a fright. It scares him. I think uh, not less than the nukes, the danger of disinformation, what it has done to human relationships, what it has done to us in terms of the rising tides of hate, what it has done in terms of suffusing this toxicity into the atmosphere, what it has done in terms of bringing nation states closer to war. In fact, wage war against each other. It is all because of this disinformation. It is all about this fake news, and we have been seeing this all phenomenon for last 10 years mostly. This sometimes, honestly, I'll say that when journalism stoops to this level, one doesn't want to be a journalist. But at the same time, it suddenly reinforces in you the sense of calling, that this is the time when you need to stand for truth, when you need to stand for the values that this discipline, this profession actually stands for. This is the time when you actually need to be on the side of the foundational values of journalism. Yes, it is very difficult these days, because the mostly people are interested by this noise. The corporates, many political establishments are very much interested in fanning hate, in fanning the ideas that give them their votes, and that helps them stay in power. This is the time, for me at least, and for many more, that this is the time when we should stick to our own principles, no matter how difficult it is, when we should try to cut through this haze using our own wisdom and using our own moral and ethical anchors, professional ethics, the anchors of that. At times it becomes difficult, it bogs you down when you see people around you who are getting these huge viewership, but and you seem to be left behind. But let's not dishearten, let's not be disheartened. Let's keep track of the news. Let's celebrate news as news. Let's have the opinion which is grounded in facts, which is grounded in wisdom. That, in a nutshell, if I have to respond to this, I discover my own sense of calling in these times which are very bad and which are very challenging.
महमूद साहब, बहुत ही important comment you made. If I could extend it, अगर मैंने अपने घर में कुछ कहना है, मैं झूठ नहीं कहूँगा, मैं अपने बच्चों से सच्चाई कहूँगा. मगर
Exactly.
अगर मैं घर के बाहर जाता हूँ और मैं झूठ बोलना शुरू कर देता हूँ, I have become a lesser person.
Yeah,
I have become a contaminated person. Shame
exactly.
on me by doing something that I know is wrong, but I'm poisoning the minds of those who may not have read or who are emotional.
Mm.
And I create this mob that is not grounded in facts. So, Mahmood Sahab,
And
moving.
let's not forget that there are people around everywhere on the globe who stand for these values.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we're your partners in the value system, grounding
Thank you.
education. So, Mahmood Sahab, I'm going to change the topic and I'm going to start talking to students who will be listening to this conversation. I'm going to ask them to imagine each one of them to be a Kashmiri global scholar in whatever they want to do. But journalism की space में क्योंकि हम एक journalist से बात कर रहे हैं. And I'm going to ask them to imagine thinking they are either freelancing for New York Times or Washington Post or Greater Kashmir or interning from them. BBC ho, Voice of America is in troubles because of present situation, or any newspaper of value throughout the country, throughout the world. उसके लिए दो तीन चीज़ें बड़ी लाजमी हैं, बहुत important है. You need to know how to speak with facts. You need to know how to communicate. आपकी ज़बान साफ और बिल्कुल to the point है नहीं चाहिए, और आपको लिखने के writing skills भी होने चाहिए. Mehmood Saab, talk to these students. What do they need to do to be better versions of Mehmood Saab? Certainly much better versions of me. And be globally, ताकि 10 साल के बाद 10-15 ऐसे महमूद साहब हैं जो who are actually magnets for Washington Post, New York Times, LA, I'm just giving you North American outlets, but global outlets.
Exactly. One, to begin with, all our students who are this time maybe in schools, colleges, or universities, working for a newspaper like New York Times, or maybe in earlier days for Time, all other these big global names, one, it's not impossible. So let's believe that it is just possible. Anybody can move out and work in these spaces. That belief in themselves is the first thing that can actually motivate them. The second is that they can't be lazy. If they don't work hard, if they are not very consistent, and if they are not focused, they cannot make it big. The third thing is, I was just teaching my course at Greater Kashmir. We have this Greater Kashmir School of Communications. We have started this course on communication skills. I was teaching them a concept that we developed here of a golden triangle. That golden triangle is that one part of it is skill, the another part is language, and the third part is communication. How I explained it to them, I think that will help the students also. When it comes to language, always remember two things: one is labor and another is love. Unless you fall in love with the language, and unless you do that required labor, you are not going to master any language. So the first thing is that have a mastery over the language. If you want to work in English language, which is the dominant language now, you need to understand this language and internalize this language and have a command over this language, both speaking and writing. And the second one is skill. Skill, to develop any skill, you need patience and you need practice every day, and be patient with it. Don't be tired, don't be exhausted, don't give up, don't quit. And the third, which is communication. Communication in itself is a discipline and it is a science. Communicate with the things. When I talk, it's not important that what I say, the important is what somebody else has heard. So you put yourself in place of others. Don't think that what is your idea of New York Times. Think of what New York Times needs from you, and then start following it. Think of what some global house would need it. And for that, you need to know about that house. Read that newspaper regularly, know the people who are associated with it, know their preferences, know the architecture of their work. And above all, start networking early on. Get in touch with the people who know them, get in touch with the people who work within these organizations, and get in touch with everything that these newspapers follow, so that there is a degree of familiarity. So when you become familiar with any newspaper, it becomes easier for to reach out to them and work for them. So these are a couple of things that they need to do. One, not be lazy, master the language, and be skillful, have that patience and practice everything, and then know what communication is.
Remarkable. Mehmood साहब, हमारा एक सेशन प्लानिंग में है अभी, which is critical thinking, creative writing, and effective communication. While we knew that it was going to be mostly applicable to journalism, but it's applicable everywhere.
It is.
Agar
Sure.
mazur te chus buchus desil te buchus chan te buchus plumber te, how do I convince my client that I am the person you should recruit.
True.
अगर मैं 10 रुपए ज़्यादा भी आपसे चार्ज कर रहा हूँ, there's a premium for the 10 rupees that I'm charging you because I
That's true.
told you exactly कि ये ऐसे नहीं होना चाहिए, ये ऐसे होना चाहिए. So I would request you to consider when we invite you for that session as a panelist because जो
My
बात
pleasure always. My pleasure always. If you remember when we met first here, I think the second time I said that if you would not have invited me, knowing what
yes.
kind of initiative that you have launched, I would have come all by myself
MashaAllah,
without that
and this is
invitation.
remarkable. This is remarkable. And I must also tell to the audience who are watching this, um, इस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कश्मीर केयर फाउंडेशन के पीछे बहुत ही मेहनती लोग हैं, men and women. I'm the oldest person, but I benefit from the advice of younger people. They are from Kashmir, they're from Germany, they're from UK, they're from North America, and people from around the world are finding value to Mehmood Sahib, what you and I are discussing, what you and I are talking today. एक चीज हमारी है महमूद साहब that you know, we have a very specific interest in mentorship. It is not mentorship for the sake of it. It's very we actually talk in a very detailed manner with the person, student, कि क्या करना चाहेगा, make sure that he or she understands the pathway that he is trying to discover, and also become a person who has interpersonal skills. So while many of us in Kashmir would understand कि medicine chu, engineering chu, business chu, ye chu, magar we are finding people, students, Mahmood Sahib, you'll be pleased to hear, who want to do journalism, who want to do international affairs, who want to do human development, and we're pairing them with students in the US, in universities, so that they have
That's a great
this
initiative.
that connections. I want you to tell the audience the value of mentorship from where you stand so that they don't shy away. Yeah, Mahmood Sabas, ikara, icha theek mein socha theek. Talk about mentorship.
You know, when this moon mission, when Neil Armstrong went there, somebody said that a single step, which is a giant leap for the mankind. Same applies to the mentors. A step that you can take yourself becomes a giant leap when you take it in presence of a mentor. Mentor actually heaves a new path for you. Mentorship is so critical that what you can learn in school for maybe 10 years or 12 years in presence of a mentor, you can make use of that in 1 hour or in 2 hours. A day with a mentor is like a year that you can spend all by yourself in a library. So mentorship is something that is very crucial to learning, that is very crucial to career development, and that is very crucial to making your life beautiful and pleasant and meeting the challenges of the life. Unfortunately, you know, in olden days, we had people in our families, in our neighborhood, who would act as mentors without we actually calling them as mentors, but they would play that role. But now that we have nuclear families, we have fallen apart, we are in fact in an atomized kind of a life. We need to find early on who our mentor can be, and then those mentors can take us to the global spaces, as you mentioned, that people who want to join journalism, who want to join this field of development and others, they need to have mentors because these are extraordinary spaces, these are very specialized spaces. If you have mentors, they'll make your job easy, and they will actually discover the potential within you and unleash that potential. So it is extremely important. If you don't have a mentor up until now, just try and find one around you.
So ye chu tisi katha ele chan shiwan temishasan suid zitra nafar timshasan trainings.
Yeah,
Jinas tim chu subah asan litter karan theek, hu karan theek. That's a process, right?
yeah, that is.
एंड इट टेक्स टाइम. दोज आर इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स. जो महमूद साहब ने कहा कि आप जो 10 साल में पढ़ोगे या 2 साल में पढ़ोगे वो 15 मिनट या आधे घंटे में एब्जॉर्ब कर लोगे बिकॉज दीज पीपल हैव गॉन थ्रू द pathway. Now imagine महमूद साहब, you can relate to it and you can explain it. अगर हमारे 12वीं 8वीं 10वीं जमात के बच्चे में फ्रेंच स्पीकिंग स्किल्स भी आ गए, स्पेनिश भी आ गई, चाइनीज भी आ गई, डिफरेंट बच्चों को, जर्मन भी आ गया, अंग्रेजी तगानी, कोशर तगानी, उर्दू तगानी, थोड़ी हिंदी भी आती है कुछ लोगों को. That is a gold mine.
That
Imagine
is.
someone with those skills.
I was actually today, because we have these classes on weekends at GKSC School of Communications. Today, when we had this session with them, uh, I was talking about this, that if you want to learn English language, what are the other languages that you have already learned? Because they will contribute to your learning of English language. And when you learn this language, then can you add German language to it? A workable knowledge of German language. It will open up new fields for you, new territory for you. Same with the French language, any other language. But I think, unfortunately, in our schools, when we teach language, we teach it as a subject. We are these days working on an idea which is very ambitious. I think we need support from you, help from you on that. How can we have language classes wherein we have this target that once our child is in, let's say, fifth grade, he can speak three or four languages very, very comfortably. And then he has this knack of understanding any other language. Maybe he can go to different spaces and he can easily pick up on those languages. So that is what we are trying to do. And this is one important gap that remains in our teaching, and our students need to follow this up early on, because in the earlier years, as early as you can start, language learning a language is very easy. As you grow, it becomes difficult.
True, true. I commit to you, sir, that we'll be your partners because we have
Thank you.
independently come to the same conclusion that you have to have a differentiator. You had a differentiator, I have some differentiators that positions us to do certain things. Imagine if Mehmood Sahab was fluent Spanish te Karan to French te Karan.
Yeah.
That was have been a different Mehmood Sahab. If I knew French, my career would have grown in a different and beautiful direction. But I didn't know French. I had to compromise only in the English speaking
Absolutely.
settings. So
Absolutely.
please stay connected. Or
Dr. Dr. Saab, by way of sharing this thing with you, the founder of this discipline, conflict studies, Johann Galtung, apart from being a brilliant mathematician, he could speak at least 12 languages fluently. And when he would teach, he would always say that here is a Spanish language. It is very useful in these kind of negotiations. Don't use, let's say, Mexican in this. Don't use Japanese. If you have to do these kind of negotiations, use Japanese language. Take clue from that. And he then gives this idea of that in this age, our children need to be polyglots. You now can't rely on just one language. Your children must know at least 4 or 5 languages. So that we need to work on, and that is an ambitious project for our schools.
Remarkable. I know we have independently come to that conclusion. हमारा जो जून का session है, that is actually titled Education and Employment Opportunity in Germany. But
Right.
for it becomes easy if you know German, right?
Goes without saying.
Mehmood Saab, we have had remarkable conversations so far. I'm going to now turn the tables. Now you be the journalist and ask me any question about KCF.
Gives me the comfort.
The table is yours, sir.
Oh, so thank you. Now I can be myself. My first thing that I would like to know from you is that this was the stage of life for you when, as they say, you hanging up the boots and relaxing, maybe spending time with your family, with your friends, and enjoying the rewards of the life. So, what made you actually work even harder and having this Kashmir Care Foundation, Global Connect, and working so hard for this? What is the motivation?
So हर कोई चीज किसी रीजन होता है इसके पीछे, right? You start imagining things or you plan things. I think I understood the art of juggling many things in life about say 15, 18 years ago. Our son, we were stationed in Delhi at that time at the US Embassy. Our son was in high school. تٔمِس اوس میوٗزِک تہِ آن آسان ٹی وی تہِ آن آسان کِتاب تہِ ٲس سۭتۍ آسان بیٚیہِ اوس ٹٮ۪کٕسٹ تہِ آسان کران मैंने कहा, Asim, how do you manage all this? Dad, I can figure it out. I may have TV on, but only you hear it. I don't. I may have music on, but certain part of me is hearing it, not all of. The book is what I'm focusing on. So I actually started learning multitasking very late in my life. And I think this Kashmir Care Foundation may have started at that time कि कुछ और भी करना है, you know. And then when we moved back to US, I retired from a government job. I started working in nonprofits and consulting space. कभी ना कभी बात होती थी आप लोग जैसों से. It became very clear that there are deficits that we need to fill. We need to fill as a community.
Right.
So I spoke with few people. मैं उनका नाम आपके माध्यम से कहना चाहता हूँ. खुर्शीद साहब, खुर्शीद इस्लाम,
A wonderful person that we have here.
वंडरफुल पर्सन. हमारे डॉक्टर महमूद मुश्ताक मरगूब साहब हैं, हमीद जरगर साहब हैं, परवेज कौल साहब हैं, मुश्ताक सिद्दीकी जो IUST पे थे, उससे पहले वो कश्मीरी स्किम्स उसमोजोस, वाजिद साहब, बहुत से लोग, हर किसी का नाम नहीं बता पाऊंगा मैं. So I kept on taking pieces from each one of them and developing construct. And while the construct was getting clear, I was making this silk rug with borrowed and broken threads.
Oh,
मगर curly nose
wonderful,
बनावन.
wonderful way of putting it.
कर्ली नोज बनावन. पनन तो उसने धागा मेरा भी नहीं था, धागा आप ही का था, रंग भी आप ही का था. तो मैंने ये कंस्ट्रक्ट बनाना शुरू किया. And then why did we say care? Care was most important piece in Kashmir Care Foundation. Kosher to Kosher Foundation, we built something. My grandson told me, Nana, you had to have a good foundation. Aiden, what does foundation mean? He said, it's the first floor.
Yeah.
So he's 5 years old, by the way.
Oh, great.
I spoke with my kids, my wife, and the first advice I got was, you need to self-fund it. Don't ask for money from anyone else, which was the very good counsel. फिर मैंने कहा, यार मैं तो ये सब चीजें सोच नहीं पाऊंगा. मेरे को आसिम याद of early 2000s,
Multitasking.
मल्टीटास्किंग. मैंने एक मैसेज डाल दी. पहले तो मैंने इनकॉर्पोरेट कर लिया अपने आप को एज ए नॉट फॉर प्रॉफिट एंटिटी इन यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स. मैंने फिर कश्मीर गैदरिंग ऑफ नॉर्थ अमेरिका, हमारा एक फेसबुक पेज है. मैं तुरंत है बहुत जैसा ये कारण. आर देयर पीपल हु विल हेल्प मी थिंक थ्रू इट. माशाल्लाह, जो ladies and gentlemen who stood up, raised their hand. भुवना, वो टैलेंट कहीं और नहीं है किसी मुल्क में, किसी सोसाइटी में. My only guidance to them was, don't hesitate to ask a question or tell me when I'm wrong. And खुदा सिन मत सान, तिम छ मे वनान हम वारिया लट नज इचुन कारण इचु गलत. So when you give that independent space to independent thought processes, product अच्छा बन
Things
जाता
grow.
है. This is how the KCF was created. It's not me, it's you, Mehmood Saab, it's many people. Mubashir Wafai Saab, उनके साथ अलोहा के साथ हम एक mentorship program scale up कर रहे हैं. We'll come to you for TSPL partnership with that. Sabah Haji ji डोडा से.
Yeah.
So ये इचु कहता है दाके दिमा पटकिन कुस्ताइन.
It is a
हम
great
तो
gathering.
फेसी हैं. Yeah.
It is a great gathering, and it is all because actually when you stood up, so that's why many others came into that vicinity, and now it is a formidable group of people that are doing the things. My second question to you would be that now that we have a memorandum of understanding for between Thinksite and KCF, what is it that two of us should expect from each other?
Yeah. So, what we have discussed it internally, Mehmood Saab. And my recommendation is for any organization that links with an organization, right? you have your menu कि मैं ये 5 चीज़ें करना चाहता हूँ, whether ये सर्विस इंडस्ट्री में है या प्रमोशनल इंडस्ट्री में है, एंड थिंकसाइट की होगी अपनी, we just match them. For instance, your presence is statewide. You help develop school systems. जो हमारी जो हमारा सेशन था मैनेजिंग सक्सेस एंड हैप्पीनेस इन स्कूल लाइफ, which you kindly so published, there is a spin-off of that, which is we're going to do a policy and non-paper on reforms that are needed in education. इसमें हम कश्मीर से एक्सपर्ट्स को ला रहे हैं और कश्मीर के बाहर से भी ला रहे हैं, and take a comprehensive view on how do we position our schools for the next 40 years, not 5 साल, and perhaps publish them in peer-reviewed journals too. And I'll come back to that to you separately. So what we can do with TSPL, Thinksite Private Limited, is what are the 3 things TSPL thinks they can benefit from our presence? हमारा एक menu है. We have social enterprises vertical. We have clear concept academy vertical. Social enterprises, अगर आपने किसी बच्चा को देखा 5वीं 6वीं 7वीं छुपारान, and you find him or her doing remarkable things. For instance, हमारे पास एक रिक्वेस्ट आई है, 5वीं जमात का बच्चा है, 10वीं जमात का मैथ कर रहा है. ये कहाँ पे होता है? But we identified him. Can we surround him with an expert? And we have found that expert. उस बच्चे की interpersonal skills भी बनानी है. We found that expert. Everything we do is with the consent of parents. हमारे पास एक बच्चा आया कि मैं छुनी ये फिक्र तरह अलजबरा में इंटीजर चुमन फिक्र तरह 7वीं जमात की बच्ची है. नाफी साहब जो हमारी ये कॉन्वर्सेशन सुन रहे हैं, आयास नाफी कार्यक्रम मदद, उसके एग्जाम के एक दिन पहले नाफी साहब क्लियर्स द कॉन्सेप्ट. So that's Clear Concept Academy. And that links with KCF Rolodex, which is people like you who will sit in that digital Rolodex, Kashmir scholars, people who have accomplished in any space. जब हमें फिर 20 साल के महमूद रशीद साहब को ये मदद चाहिए, we know exactly who to pair him with. जब महविश को जरूरत होगी, we know exactly who to pair her. अभी हमारे पास एक बच्ची आई थी फाउंडेशन वर्ल्ड से और एक बच्ची डीपीएस से. They are wanting to study completely different non-traditional places, and I found someone at University of Notre Dame, Kashmir course, I think. We had a session between them, and the outcome was immediately they had internship opportunities virtual with Notre Dame. They had handhold guidance kit can apply for either partially funded positions admission or fully funded. So TSPL के साथ we would actually have a conversation कि आपकी 3-4 चीजें क्या हैं which are bubbling up in your organization, and how can we help you? We take the second seat and help you. हमारी कुछ चीजें हैं where you can help us.
Just to add this, one of the things that we are just contemplating, we had a meeting in our office on that also, that we'll be identifying some 200 schools and we will review them. We have already reviewed some schools, but those are the very detailed and comprehensive reviews. But a very rudimentary and basic kind of a review that gives us an insight into teaching learning gaps, that gives us an insight into what is actually happening in our schools. So with that data, with that huge amount of information, we can actually contemplate of some research project or some research paper that we can publish together, and then recommend to the government that here are 10 different changes that you need to make in your schooling systems that can actually make better use of the resources that you have, and the education can reach to the deeper recesses and to those who might not afford it in high end schools. So that is something that we are looking forward to. And besides our own usual activities wherein we transform the schools, we train the teachers, we mentor the students, we also draw processes and systems for the schools, I think there is lots of scope for collaboration between KCF and Thinksite. And as we move ahead, we'll grow in our collaboration, and together we can make difference to many students and many schools around. And that will be something that is very fulfilling and that gives you great joy and pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard Mehood Rashid Saab. What an incredible person, a remarkable human being and a professional he is. So, unki jo bhi baatein thi, please take special note of everything he said. Reading, writing, speaking skills are very important. And if you can combine your languages and add a couple of more languages to it, that's remarkable. Stay tuned with us, connected with us. Please हमारी website पे जाइए www.kashmircarefoundation. Any question you may have, any information you want to share with us, info@kashmircarefoundation.org. With those comments, I want to thank each one of you for joining with us today and listening to this remarkable conversation. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. It was so nice talking to you, and it will always be a pleasure to be part of KCF initiatives that can actually help our students move into the larger spaces. Thank you very much.